We saw the difference between AI, ML, DL, data science, the problem definition, how to define it, the requirements, the design, how to search for data, then cleaning the data. These four things are left. Try to cover as much as possible. So first we'll see the slides for feature engineering and EDA. Then we'll see the code, and then we'll go for deployment, training models and deployment. Okay. So then, what is EDA? EDA is the process of understanding the data. So the data we get, we usually don't own the data. It's owned by other teams or maybe some other person who has created the data. So we actually don't know a lot about the data. So we need to ask questions. We need to understand that. So uh, for example, if we receive some data regarding people buying houses, we need to understand why specifically why specifically a person buys the house before even we train our models. So for example, we'll ask the people who have collected the data about the parameters, and then we'll try to create reports, summaries, charts out of it. And when we create reports, summaries, and charts, we actually create sense of give a sense of satisfaction to the stakeholders, showing that these are the preliminary results. These are the analysis that we have found from the data, and we may provide similar insights later on. So it's like a preliminary solutions to the stakeholders to show that we are actually working and we are not just sitting there. So yeah. So there are various ways to do EDM, and the outputs are usually reports. They may be executive reports, executive summaries, a paragraph, which are usually a paragraph for a page. Then we can have long form summaries. We can have charts like bar charts, line charts. Always if we are showing a chart, there has to be a story attached to it, showing why exactly we have made this chart and what are the results that we are getting. Example, it will be more clear when we'll do the it will be actually much more clear when we'll see the code examples. Then the second part was feature engineering. So what is feature engineering now? Feature engineering is when we create more features out of the already out of the the columns that we already have. So basically, in our example, we had various columns such as siblings, the number of siblings onboarded, the number of parent, like if a person who has boarded the ship has parents with him, or there are various features like the age. We have to create more features out of it. How we'll create the features, again we'll see it into the examples, into the code examples. To say some examples are, yeah. So yeah, what feature engineering does is it adds more dimensionality. What's dimensionality? That is again the number of columns that we have, the number of dimensions we have. Those are the number of parameters that we are sending for training example. Again, to say it again, training examples is a single row in your analogous to a single row in your table. That's a single example that we provide our model to learn. And again, how can we know which are the features that we have to generate? So basically, again, we'll have to go to the domain experts. Domain experts are people who know the problem and not the solution. Those people are basically, if it's a medical problem, if we are predicting how many people are going to survive a particular pandemic, we have to go to the doctors and understand how they actually treat patients. So, and how they decide what exactly do they see when they say that this patient has number of days, or if this patient will live for so many more days. So we'll go to the doctors and ask them what do they see, and then take more insights from them, and then we can generate our features from our data. And how do we generate more features? For some examples, if we are using a sales data, so in that we'll have basically a table that includes the sales per shop. So basically there will be a shop whose location will have, and we'll also have their uh, the number of sales representatives, and then we'll have a column which show which will sorry we'll have another table which includes the transactions, the number of sales that shop has done. So for generating a new feature into the sales table, we'll aggregate the data from the transactions table. Now that transactions table will have people buying stuff. So we'll add all the things that are sold from a particular shop, and we'll add it to the sales table to show that this shop had these number of sales. So this feature was not actually a part of our mod or part of our initial data that will probably use to predict something else. Will predict the stocks of that company, and for that we need to know how much sale each shop is doing, but then we don't have that feature. So we are generating that feature by aggregating from another table. Aggregating is any of those functions like sum, average, minimum, maximum. Those are aggregation functions. Those are the functions that generate a singular value from a number of rows. So basically, instead of joining everything to show that just this shop generated this much sale on this day, this shop generated this much sale on this day, we are actually including only one training example, which is basically this shop generated these many sales for till date. So that till date feature will get by adding all the sales of each day from all previous day. Will add them and will add it to the main table. Okay, so that was a single example. The second example could be basically we'll have a date column in any of the time series data sets. We'll have basically a column that shows the date for each training example. So that would be DDMM YYYY or YYYY DDMM. So basically this would be a singular string, and this might not help a lot in our problem. So what we do is we separate the months, we separate the weeks, we separate the days. So we'll have a single column for the month, a single column for the date, for a single column for the day, and how month, year, and day basically. So when we separate these columns, we have created three new features from a single feature that was date. So how it helps us basically, if there's a specific line that is followed, if there's a specific trend that is followed monthly. So in every December, in December of each year, the sales are increased because that's Christmas, so people buy more chocolates, people buy more gift items. So a specific shop has increased sales during the month of December. So to capture that feature, the feature date is not helpful because it's actually taking into account the month, year, and date, everything. It's a string, it's not very much useful. So when we separate the month for a specific shop, we are seeing that this shop during this month provided us this much sales. So we are capturing the trend of months. Similarly, if we have a specific day in a month, that could be the first weekend, that's when a lot of people buy groceries. So for the grocery shop, that day is also important. Basically, it's how we generate more features, and it comes with experience or domain experts help. So if you keep doing feature engineering for a specific domain, you learn what features to generate. It's completely by experience. And we'll go to a small summary of the two topics that we did, because it was a bit off. So yeah, so what is EDA? Again, EDA is basically getting small insights from the data. So when we get the data in our hand, it's unclean, so we actually clean it and we store it in a form that we can use, maybe a CSV, or we put it in a database, and then we can keep accessing the data and do our analysis on it. So the first step of analysis would be basically exploratory data analysis, that we explore the data, and there are various ways of doing it. And the initial phase would be basically taking one or two rows from the data and doing actually manually checking each column and what is in each column. So what's the kind of what's the data type of a column, or what kind of values does it have? Are they very much are there any values that are very much outside of bound? So for example, if we have the age column, we shouldn't have a value that's 297, because that's not feasible, that's not possible. So if there are these kinds of values, we'll have to remove them. So sometimes we do some cleaning, that's basic. Then we come for EDA, we check our data again, and then we find such things. Then we'll go back to the data cleaning process and we remove stuff like outliers. So yeah, these topics can be interleaved. So what else do we do in EDA? We do all sorts of analytics. We do a basic of trends finding, and if we have a time series data, we'll find trends and all. If we have some kind of medical data, we'll try to find the important features. So how do we understand if a feature is important? We'll create some sort of chart or some sort of report from it, and the endpoint of the report would be the endpoint of the report would be a basic idea saying that this feature, when increased, provides us with increase, gives more life expectancy. So nutritious foods, if a person is taking nutritious food, we get if his life expectancy is increased. Such kinds of outputs we'll get from EDA. So uh, so if we are creating a line chart, for example, of for shares, we'll find the shares of the value, the price per day of a share. If we plot it as a line chart, we can understand the trend. Another example. And what are the answers? What do we get by doing ADA? One thing is we understand the data better, which is very important. The second point would be uh, will understand if a specific column is not useful at all. So for example, if there's a specific column or a specific dimension, column means dimension, uh, it's not needed, it's something that's just not correlating with our data, we'll just remove it. And the other result that we get is basically towards giving a sense of work to the stakeholders. So the stakeholders, if they are providing you the resources, they want you to give them outputs every week or every 2 weeks. And the model that you will be building will be almost at the end of your project. The final accuracy or F1 score or whatever you're showing, that would be at the end of the project. So in the meantime, you have to give them something so that they know that okay, it's happening. So you can show these exploratory data analysis, basically summaries and charts to them, and we bi-weekly or monthly, whenever you go and meet them, we'll show something else. Okay, so you can say that wow, we found that in December we get more sales. This could be a basic analysis report to them, but then for you it's very simple, but then for them it's something that they understand, and they understand that you are working. Okay, the second topic was feature engineering. Feature engineering is basically finding more features from pre-existing features. So for example, if you have a feature of age, you divide that into bins. So basically you divide them into brackets, so 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 100. So we'll call that from 0 to 20 a person is very young, 20 to 40 would be lively, 40 to 60 would be old, and 60 to 100 would be very old. So we have converted a numerical column into a categorical column. How does this help? To give an example, this helps when you know that a person from the age of 0 to 20 is weak compared to a person who is in 20 to 40, because he is more younger. Or if you change the brackets a bit, 0 to 15 and 15 to 40, after 15 to 20 years you stop growing. So now you will just will become stronger each day. So for if it's something related to life expectancy, people from the age of 0 to 15-20 will have lower life expectancy. 15 to 40 will have a higher life expectancy, and 40 to 100 will have even lower. So uh, this is a way of showing your model, giving your model more information. So instead of it deciding that 0 to 20 is good, you are providing it from yourself by giving it categorical variables. It's a way of reducing your model loss, and it will basically increase the accuracy, because yeah, feature engineering is important. This was a simple example. There are various examples. The examples written here are a bit difficult to understand, so I gave that one. I'll see that that try to put in easier examples next time. Okay, so we'll try to implement these in code. So when we did the last time, we had written all those things, all these things. So what I'll do is I'll just run them all again. So you can click run and click run all, and it will actually run all cells. So we don't have to manually run everything. So by the end of the session, we had this data frame. Here, this table that we had found. So this is from our data cleaning. Now we want to do feature engineering and exploratory data analysis with it. So we'll start with the first step. As I told, we have the ages here, but we want to know, like this is a numerical variable. This is a continuous variable which goes up and down. What we want is, what we want to do is, we want to divide it into bins. So how do we do that? Using pandas.
You're making the dal, okay? I'm making the dal, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we had imported pandas as PD, so we'll use a pandas function, which is basically pandas.cut, and we'll pass in our age. So we are saying that we want to work on the age column, and then we are passing it the cuts, the bins basically. So we pass it 0, 20, 20, 20. So we want the first bin to lie from 0 to 20, the second from 3 to first from 0 to 2, second from 3 to 20, third from 21 to 60, fourth from 61 to 80, and the final one after it, it comes after 80. So yeah, and then we'll tell it what are the labels that we want to assign to these bins. So we'll give them 0, 1, 2, 3. So we could have done young, very young, young, old, very old, but then to save that step of converting them back into numerical variables, we are directly providing it the variables. So this is the output. So I'll print them, print the other one here, the original column. Print both of them. Yeah. Yeah. So as you see, for the first one it was 22. So it assigned it the bin number 2 because the bin number 2 lies from 21 to 60. The second one was 38, which was again between 21 to 60. So it assigned it the bin number 2. The second label 2 for bin number 20 to 60. Yeah, this way. Now we again, as it's not in place, it just gives you the output. We need to assign it to a variable. We need to create a new column inside our data frame basically. So we'll create a new variable and we'll say it age underscore category. So we are creating a cut here. We are creating a new feature that's basically converting your continuous ages into specific bins. very young, old, very old, something on those lines. But we are skipping a step of converting it into categories, and converting into back into numerics. We are directly converting into numerics, and then once we do that, we also want to print it. So yeah. So it has been, a new variable has been created, and we are printing the new variable, a new column, and the old column side by side. Yeah. New column, the old column. 38 ka 38 is converted into 2. Okay. So now we'll go for the next part. This was one example of feature engineering. The second feature that we are generating is basically, we have PARCH, that's basically the parents, and we have IBSP, that's basically the number of siblings. So what we want to do is the number of parents and number of siblings, maybe they are not very useful. We want to generate a new feature out of them. So we will convert the family size, we'll get the family size of a specific individual. So first we have these columns, we have parts and we have siblings SP. But then we are going to create a new feature that is basically the family size. So again, we'll add the parts, and we'll add, one, because we have to count himself, like the person who are the specific person whom we are talking about. We are adding him to the siblings and the parts, the parents. So when we do this, we get another variable. Again, it's not in place, so we'll have to create a new variable. Okay. We'll assign it to it. So when we do this, and then we print train again. Yeah. So 1 plus 1 plus 2, we have 2 here. 1 plus 0 plus 1, we have again 2 here. No siblings, no parents, and added 1 to it. And this way we have a new variable that's basically family size. This one is a bit bigger, so yeah, there are 2 parents and 1 sibling plus the person himself. So we have generated a new feature. So this example is basically predicting if a person in the Titanic ship would survive or not. So we were able to create our own features. If it would have been a problem that's very difficult to understand, so if it's a medical data set, we'll have to take help from the doctors to understand what's happening. So what I'll do now is I'll just print the columns, the current columns that we have. Yeah, these are the columns that we have. So we have done feature engineering. Now we want to do EDA, exploratory data analysis. So again, we'll create graphs and charts to do it. So the basic library that is used for creating charts is matplotlib. And we'll import pyplot from matplotlib. This is the library, this is the namespace, and we'll import it as PLT. So now PLT has been imported, and yeah, so PLT has a lot of types of graphs that you can make on it. So I'll just do help on it. So yeah, there are various things that you can do. You can generate a correlation graph. You can generate a anytime you can just, if this is not feasible, you can just create a new tab and ask plots from matplotlib. So okay, so you can create line charts, you can create multiple line charts, you can print images, you can create contours, you can create histograms, paths, a lot of things. This is a very basic library, the one of the libraries that's used most often, mainly. So yeah, so what we'll use it to create a histogram, and we'll just create a histogram of seeing, depending upon the fare, depending upon the fare, how many people survive. So we'll use the fare column of our table to create a histogram. We'll divide the fare into different bins and then we'll create a histogram. Eh, this was the issue. I'll explain the command once I type it. Yeah. Yeah. So we have used the hist function from matplotlib.pyplot, and firstly we are passing this list. So this is a list. This is a Python list, and what are we passing in it is basically first we are doing this train survived equals to 1. So this will basically generate an array which has ones in place where we have survived. And what we'll do is what this thing will do is it will tell matplotlib to consider all the people who have survived. So we'll have the fare of them, and then we'll like the first is basically telling them that take the fare of people who have survived, and the second is telling them the people who have not survived and what fare that they pay for the ticket. So yeah, so and this is a single list. So we have a list in which we are passing two things. The list has list.0 is the list, this thing. The zeroth thing is this one, and the one on the first index we have the people who have not survived. We are telling it to create a non-stack chart, and we are telling it to divide the input into bins of 10, and then we'll tell it to create labels and to print out. It will be much easier to understand when it is already printed. So there's some error that we need to resolve. Okay, I will run it again to see if it was resolved or not. Okay, yeah, so there was one issue that we missed. So basically, when we want to run our Matplotlib in a Jupyter notebook, we have to use this thing. It's a Jupyter notebook magic command that tells the notebook to be run in a inline way. So now when we run this, the chart is displayed. So yeah, so make sure you don't miss this. It's a magic command. It's a way of telling Jupyter to print the charts in a inline way. So when we created this graph, again going to the parameters that we are passing, the first one is the fare of the people who have survived, then the fare of the people who have not survived, and we are telling it to divide the input into bins of 10. So so yeah, we are telling it to divide the input into 10 bins. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and these are non-existent. But then there will be 10 groups for survived and non-survived. The pairs, there will be 10 pairs. These there are no people who have paid fare 400. So there's no graph, there's no bar over here. Yeah. And when we give the label survived and non-survived, so basically we are telling that the first uh, zeroth index of the list that we passed is basically people who have survived, and the non-zero thing that we passed are the people who have not survived. And we are giving it the X label, the label on the X axis, which is this ticket fare, and we are giving it the Y label, that's basically survived and non-survived. So in this way, we have created a graph, and now what answer do we get from this graph is basically the people who have paid very less fare, that's between 0 to 100. There are people, there are more less people who have survived. Maybe they were packed more, or maybe there were rooms where the fire exits were not maintained properly, because obviously they are paying less, so they are getting worse services, bad services. So people who have survived, like there are more people who have non-survived than the people who have survived in the lower fare range. In the higher fare range, the thing is different, and this thing over here will basically we may consider it as an outlier, because maybe there's no ticket as 500. So we can ask the people of the ship, the people who were selling tickets, that where did you pay someone, did you, there was there a ticket as costly as this, and if it's not there, we'll consider it as an outlier and we can remove it, because this will poison our things later on. For simplicity, we're not doing it now, because in a real case scenario, we'll have to remove it. Now we'll do another chart that is basically showing us, we'll take the same code. So as you can see, Matplotlib and Python, there's very less code that you have to write usually. And what we'll do is we'll just convert this fare to age. Now we'll want to print ages. We want to create a chart from ages. The labels remain the same, and only this thing changes. And when we show this plot, okay, oops, there was a mistake. What mistake did I make? Did I miss something? I missed something. Okay, yeah, it's not important. Anyways, yeah, so again, what we are telling it to, will change the number of bins to 8, just because we know that there were only people up till 80 ages. So what happens here is basically we have printed the people who have survived. uh, yeah, so when we do this, we see that people from the ages of 20 to 30, there are a lot of people who have survived, and and the other parts, there are less people who have survived. So we can printing it properly. Need to check it again. Let's run it again and see. Yeah, it's better now. Okay, yeah, so what we have done here is we have taken the blue bars again as survived and the orange bars as non-survived, and use a similar function to generate the ages. So what do we see here is in the lower ages there are more people who have survived. In the middle ages, in the ages of 20 to 30, we said that there are more people who have not survived to compared to people who have survived, and it's similar ahead. So it's against our normal assumption that people who are young, they might be more energetic and that's why they would survive a accident as such, but then it's looking different. One possible answer to this could be that the people who are higher ages, they actually tried to protect the younger ones. So basically they went back or something, or they were more caring towards each other. So it's like two people were trying to help each other, but then none of them got saved because they got late helping each other. Possible scenarios. So again, this is one of the reasons why we should do analytics and we should not go by gut feeling. Okay, we just assume that people who are younger would be saved. No, but then it could be different. There are various scenarios. So that is why ED is important, and this is something that when you show to the executive, will say, okay, this is different. We never thought of it, but then you're like, okay, this is what the data says. So this would help them in the short term, and if this gets true in a way, he would be much happy with you because you have provided a preliminary results. He paid you to create a model that could predict survival rates, but then you gave him a small result which actually helped him, and it will provide a sense of satisfaction to him that okay, this actually works. Yeah, so these were pretty difficult to write. As you saw, I was making mistake creating the graphs and it was looking different, mistakes and bugs everywhere. So Python is a very language that's being contributed by a lot of people a lot of time. So there's another library which is much simpler to use. So I'll just import it and then exchange. Okay. So much of the basic things that we had to do here, telling pandas that you have to take survived in the first bar and not survived in the second bar. All these things are mostly automated when you use Seaborn. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm creating a small plot out of using Seaborn. I'm saying I want to use the count, and then I'll tell it that I want to count the people who have survived. And what else? I'll tell it that this is the column that I want to use. Just this small command, and basically it uses matplotlib to create a table. You see the difference in the number of things that we had to pass here, and here everything, a lot of it is automated in a single command. Again, these are not the only parameters that you can plot, not the only parameters that you can pass. So if I do uh, if I call help on it, I'll see the all the parameters and the number of things that we can pass. We can give it orient command. Orient is basically converting your this is a vertical bar chart, you can convert it to a this is a horizontal, this is a vertical bar, the other way around. So basically the bars would be in this manner. Okay, that would be, I guess, horizontal. Yeah, that should be horizontal, and this is vertical. Yeah. Okay, then you can show them, you can tell it the colors that you want to put. You can also put a gradient palette. There are a lot of things that you can do, and it just reduces the number of things that you need to provide on a basic case. A simple graph is drawn with just a single command, and we want to use the counts, and we just pass in the column that we want to use. We want to use the survived column, and we are saying to use the train data frame. Train is the data frame, the thing that we are using from such a long time. This is the table. Yeah, this table, we are just telling it use this table, use this column and create a graph, and it does it for us. Internally it uses matplotlib. Okay, another example that we'll see is this. We'll tell it to do it on 6. Yeah, it created it. The number of males and the number of females. There are 300 females in on our ship, and there are 550 females on our ship. And on our there are five something around 570 males and 310 or something females. So again, in a single command, we're able to create it. We can create all sorts of graphs using Seaborn. It's not as changeable as Matplotlib because obviously it's a cover over Matplotlib, so everything is not available. Most of it is available, and you can't change a lot of things again because Matplotlib. That's what we don't want to do. We want a bootstrap thing that we could easily use. You don't, if you don't want to get into much details creating very different charts, you can use Seaborn. But then if there's something that's not, you are not able to use Seaborn, you can go for Matplotlib. This just makes it a lot more easier in the initial step because the insights are more important than creating the graph usually, unless you want to present it. So yeah, the meeting will be ending in 4 minutes 30 seconds, so just wrap up a bit. Yeah, I guess this is it for EDA and feature engineering. Again, it never stops. So once even you have just when you have just put your model into production, it's not that you should stop your EDA and feature engineering. It will keep on happening, and I would say this is one of the most important part. And this is the skill that takes time to develop. This is a skill that comes with experience. So a person who is not being in your industry, who has not created a lot of projects, he won't be able to do it. So it's a differentiating factor. Creating models out of data. So basically, if someone gives you clean data and then feature engineering on it, told you that these are the features that are important, and it has also given you that all the important things, and then you have to just create models out of it. It's pretty much automated. You can use stuff like AutoML to generate the models automatically. So this is where I would say people shine. This is where the people who are experienced shine. Yeah, model building is difficult and important, but then uh, people like that more. So it's like demand and supply. There are more people who there are supply of more individuals who are good at creating models. So if you get good at cleaning data, creating features out of it, it will be more in demand.